Hey guys, welcome back to my video. It's me, Quarantine, or Nicole. This video is in response to the question that I get asked the most over on Instagram, and that's basically how did I improve my art in 6 months? Or like just how did I improve my art so quickly is really the question, and it's wild because like I still see how much I have to grow in my art skill. And so in this video, I'm going to give you guys my personal tips on how I got better and share that. And I do want to say and have like a major disclaimer that I'm not an art teacher. I did not go to art school. I'm mostly self-taught, like taught by the internet. And yeah, so take it or leave it. This is what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But if it does, that's great. So my first tip I would have is to draw every single day. I know that this is like somewhat controversial because burnout is real. And so like I know that like for me, drawing every day does not stress me out. I can handle it, and so I can do it. And when I say draw every single day, I'm not saying like create full-blown like Picasso pieces every single day. If you want to, and if you can handle that, then do it. But for me, that would make me exhausted and I would burn out so quickly. So what has worked for me is that currently I study art maybe about like 1 to 2 hours every single day. And then like on the days that I want to create something for Instagram, then I do that. And I do that like maybe once or twice a week. For me, like what also helps is like not working on the same type of art tool or medium every single day. And so like I kind of get bored of doing digital art a lot. And so sometimes I switch over to traditional and I open my sketchbook and I'll sketch, or sometimes I'll do gouache and I will paint and markers and color pencils, but just like create something every single day. And I think that helps really fine tune your skills, because I think it's almost possible to do something every single day and get worse at it. Like practice does make better. I just think that for art, it's being able to practice with intention. The second advice that I have is to create an original character. And so for me, when I first started, I created like a bunch of original characters. It is like the perfect way to know what to draw, even if you don't know what to draw, you know? So like if you don't have any idea what you want to draw today, at least you can reach into that bag of original characters and draw one of them. Even if you don't have original characters, like you can pull in a bunch of anime characters that you love. So let's say you like drawing Naruto. So like draw Naruto on the days that you don't know what to draw, or if you like drawing My Hero Academia, then draw like Deku on the days that you don't know what to draw. Or maybe combine Naruto and Deku and create that as your own original character and draw that on the days that you don't know what to draw. And so if you're drawing the same character over a span of time, you are able to better understand like your own art growth, and you're better able to see that, because instead of worrying about what to draw, you're learning how to draw the character that you're drawing. Does that make sense? My third tip is to identify what you like to draw. The way that I did this was that I found 5 artists that I found inspirational to me, and I try to figure out like what about those artists am I drawn to? Like what about their art speaks to me? And so for me, I love Fernandez Diaz, Johanna the Mad, Laya Lopez, C.T. Chrysler. I love Loish, and all these people are really good at storytelling through characters and just characters alone, and they're really good at drawing expressions and drawing really cool poses and positioning their characters really interestingly on the canvas. And so that's what I want to focus on. And so if you look at my most recent art, I think that I've been really focused on like expressions and like possibly like storytelling through characters, and that's fun for me. And so for you, it might be backgrounds or landscapes or cars or dynamic poses or pretty girls, like whatever it is for you, like figure it out and then just draw that, because it's easier and funner to learn when you're interested in what you're drawing. Like we're not in art school. We're not like, I mean, this isn't for people who are in art school, but you're not in art school. You're not like submitting this for an art project. Like this is for you. Hey guys, so my battery died while I was filming, so I don't know where I left off. But I think the most recent tip that I had was to find artists that you were inspired by, to like figure out what you want to draw and then focus on that, because then you will improve on those skills specifically. And then once you feel good or once you get bored, then you can focus on whatever interests you next. Like you just kind of flow into it. So hopefully one day my brain will turn on to care about backgrounds and I will learn about backgrounds, you know? My next tip that I have, to find tutorials. So I think there's like a misconception as to what self-taught means. Like I think some people think that you just doodle in a dark room all day and then you try to get better that way. But in my experience, I think that there are so many resources available to you on the internet And so I would recommend finding those resources. So for me, the most useful has been Patreon. And so if your favorite artist has a Patreon account, it's great because not only can you help support them, but then they can help support your art growth by providing you behind the scenes work, tutorials, sketch with me's, speed paints, tips and tricks. Now, not all artists have Patreons, and even those that do don't offer those services because not every artist has to be a teacher, you know? So I would recommend two Patreon accounts that I find very useful is Loish and Lotus Bubble. Their tutorials are super comprehensive. Their Patreons give you a little bit of everything. So like portrait, character design, backgrounds, like tips and tricks on how to like create certain digital effects. Like they're so useful. I don't really use Patreon for traditional art, but I'm sure there are other artists who give you really cool tips on how to create amazing watercolor, gouache, color pencil pieces. Also on Patreon, try to find artists that use the same thing, same tool that you use. So like when I first started, I would like subscribe to Patreons of artists who use Photoshop, but I was creating in Procreate. And because I was so new, it was hard to translate those skills from Photoshop into Procreate. And now that I'm better and I have Clip Studio Paint, which kind of resembles Photoshop, I have a better understanding of like what people are showing me in Photoshop. If you use Procreate especially, try to find artists that also use Procreate. I know that not everyone can afford Patreon and everyone has the funds. We are in a pandemic. Like there are other resources that are available on the internet, like Skillshare is really good because the first 3 months are free, and in those first 3 months you can consume a lot of content and learn a lot. I learned everything that I know about Procreate from Skillshare, and my introduction to digital art and human anatomy was from Skillshare, and there was an amazing artist on there. I think his name was like Robert something. I don't have Skillshare anymore, but I can link his name below. Yeah, he taught me a lot, so I'd recommend his account. And there are so many others, like there's so many other forms of creativity tutorials that they have on there. And again, the first 3 months are free, so this is not an ad. They don't pay me to say this. I actually did really enjoy it. And then the third thing that I would recommend is YouTube. And so obviously, so I have two artists on here that I like watch religiously, and that's Ethan Becker and Reek TV. Oh, and also Mark Brunet. They all kind of show you something different. So like Ethan Becker, his videos are very entertaining and kind of silly and really fun, but I think he really taught me how to think about drawing and how to think about creating. I wouldn't go to him to like learn how to do something, but if I want to learn how to think about something, before I discovered his videos, I was approaching art in a very different way, and now I look at things a bit more analytically. And then Reek, I love his videos because his tutorials are like 45 minutes to 2 hours long on YouTube. I feel like you're like in a special class or something, but for free. I just discovered him like maybe about a month or two ago, and like I feel like my art has completely changed, especially female poses, because he's just like, he's so good. He's really good. And then Mark is like an art teacher, I think, for real. Like he has really cool videos on YouTube, but they're shorter. If you have money and can afford his like art classes over on Gumroad or Cube Brush or whatever it's called, again, I will link it below. Do it. Like it's so helpful. Mark Brunet's classes are $50 around, give or take, and you buy like one like semester, and like in the semester you have like 5 or 6 different classes, and they're great. They're like so long and so detailed and very comprehensive, and I've just like learned so much from his classes, and I should buy a couple more because I haven't done it in a while, but I think I bought like the first 3 semesters, or I don't know how he breaks it down, like the first 3 like chunks of classes I bought, and they're great. So I know $50 can be a lot for a lot of people. What I was doing was that I was doing like a class or a semester a month or a month and a half, and then just running through that. I could afford it in that capacity, and it like completely changed the game for me. So I would also recommend that as well. Another really good resource is art books. And so right here I have Sketching from the Imagination. This one just has a bunch of sketches from like artists who are in the industry. There are artists that we know, like I think Ramon is in here and Loish is in here. So like there are artists that we like are, not we, I don't know what you guys know, but I know. And I feel like sketching is the most important part of the art process because that's where I feel like you capture all your energy. And the emotion and the expression and all of that. So I really recommend this art book. I know there are a couple others on Amazon, but the one that I have is the characters one because that's what I want to focus on. And then the next book that I have here is the Figure Drawing for All It's Worth. I think this is pretty famous in the art community. It was like written in like 1705. It was written in 1946, but still like a minute ago. I'm sure you've heard of the Loomis method for like constructing heads. Well, this is about like figure drawings, and I think that he really breaks down his thought process in a way that it's really easy to understand. And I know there are so many ways you can go about it. I don't think any single way is the right way, but like one method that I don't understand is like the box method. I don't get it. I don't know how to draw a 3D cube. I don't know why I would put a person in a cube. And then whenever I use that method, my characters look really stiff. And I think he focuses more on like line of action stuff, which works for my style a bit more. So I would definitely recommend this book as well. And the last book that I would recommend is, I have tons of books. So if you guys want a separate video with just like my favorite art books, I can show you that. But I will include this art book here, which is an anime art book of one of my favorite, I won't say it's one of my favorite animes, but it's one of the animes that like interests me the most because it's so weird. It's so dark. And I don't fully understand what's happening, and I've seen it a couple times. The theme song is dope, and I can't pronounce the name, but it's the Neon Genesis Evangelion, whatever, art book. And this one is just great because it's just filled with characters. And like I said, characters is what I'm focusing on. Like it just has everyone. And so I would recommend it. I think it's really fun. And I think I get a lot of inspiration for this, especially for poses and facial expressions and clothing. Like I think it's just like a great book. I would love to collect all like the 90s anime art books, but they're so hard to find and they're so expensive. And for the most part, they're usually in Japanese, which is fine. Like I really want the Cowboy Bebop art book, but it's like $200 and it flies all the way from Japan. And I just haven't committed yet, but it's definitely like a book that's like on my list of things that I want to get. Oh, the next thing that I have on my list is to be critical of your drawing. So be aware of your shortcomings and your weaknesses and your strengths as well. And so like, I think that I have a really good eye, and every time I post something, I can see like for the most part where the major flaws are, and I think most people can see what they are, and I try to focus on that the next time that I draw. And so if I know that for me for the longest time, and still to this day, hands are so hard for me, and so I try to draw a lot of hands and practice on hands to get better at that. Look at your work and be critical of it, especially, I mean, you don't want to always compare your art to other artists, but compare your art to like where you want to be and see how you can fine tune your studying and your learning to address those weaknesses instead of just ignoring it. It's very easy for me just to not ever draw hands. Like my characters can just have their arms crossed or have their hands behind their back or like crop the canvas a certain way, but then I would never get any better, you know? And if you can't figure out what your weaknesses are, because sometimes it is hard to see it, then share it with someone that you love and trust and who will be critical but also kind to your work. I don't need super intense criticism, like please spare my feelings. And then the final thing that I will say, surround yourself with content, that's a weird word for it, but I guess content that inspires you. And so people often ask me how I keep motivated to keep drawing every single day. And I don't think motivation is really what it is. I think what it is actually just inspiration. I think that I am constantly inspired to get better and to draw because I spend a lot of time consuming things that inspire me. So that could be like anime or cartoons, movies are a great thing, books, fan fiction, webtoons, you know, podcasts, going outside, hanging out with friends. Like these are things that inspire me and make me feel good versus like things like TikTok when I'm on it for like 8 hours. I mean, TikTok can be a great source of inspiration as well, but like, of course, everything has limitations. And so if I'm on TikTok for 8 hours, I truly feel like so gross afterwards and my brain feels all mushy. And that's how I know that this thing does not bring me joy. I will limit that. And I know that everyone's timing is different and not everyone has the same 24 hours. I know people love to say that, like we all have the same 24 hours, but we don't. Like people have kids, multiple jobs, one job, pets, family. Like, we all don't have Beyonce's 24 hours, we don't. But there are moments in your day, if you're not able to actively draw, that you can seek out things for inspiration. And I think that just helps you also become like a better person and a more positive person if you're constantly feeling inspired by like life. This is getting a little like, woo, but it's true. And so that's kind of how I keep going, and that's how I find my motivation. I think that's it. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could mention. If I remember anything else, I'll mention it in the comments or like leave it in the description box. But I think those are the things that I would recommend. You should have fun, and you should explore, and don't be afraid to try things and fail, and, you know, get into new mediums, and don't think that like, oh, I can't do this because I'm not like 13, or I'm not like a girl or a boy, or I'm not like, you know, you can do whatever you want with art. Like, if you want like a support buddy, this is what my channel's for, and this is what my Instagram page is all about. Like, I've like formed this community of people who are like self-taught artists who are committed to improving. It's really fun, and it holds me accountable, and I like that. I really like it, and I feel really fulfilled and happy. And so hopefully, you know, this video inspires you to, you know, work a little smarter. Is that condescending? Hopefully this video inspires you to continue on with your art journey, and don't ever feel too old or too young to pick it up. What am I talking about? Okay, anyway guys, have fun drawing, and I will see you guys in my next video.